my lovelies, and welcome back to another video. There are some times where I feel like having a vagina just really sucks. Like when you want to go running at night, or when you're hemorrhaging for several days every month. In general, I am pretty much just irritated to no end by the idea of having a period. Growing up, it was always a very negative thing, it was like a curse, it was something horrible, it was so inconvenient, and I definitely understand why. The way that most women are taught to manage their menstrual cycles is just, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Most ladies have a menstrual cycle, they have a period, and so most ladies gotta figure out how to deal with that. I got mine later than most of my friends. I was like 15, but it came with a vengeance. The cramps, the flow was awful. I would be curled up in a ball for days and days at a time. I was always in so much pain, and I was trying to manage it with pads and tampons, which are really just the stupidest things that have ever been invented. I mean, I get it, they had their purpose, like back in the day. I knew that they were a big step up from the way women used to manage their cycles. Although, didn't they get to go and hang out in a frickin' tent and like relax for a week? But anyway, I wasn't satisfied with dealing with my cycle that way. Luckily, because I'm like a proactive researcher who doesn't accept anything that's subpar, I have managed over the years to figure out some really great ways to deal with my cycle so that it doesn't really affect my life, so that I'm not in pain, so that I'm not inconvenienced, so that I don't really have to pay that much attention to it unless I want to. And yes, I'm aware of like sacred cycles and being in touch with the moon and the earth and celestial whatever. I still don't want to be hemorrhaging. It doesn't make sense. Put me on the list for an elective partial hysterectomy. Anybody. Can you shop vac it out? I don't care. I'll keep my ovaries, but I feel like I could live without the uterus. So first and foremost, what revolutionized the experience of my period was a vegan diet. When I cut out the inflammation-causing animal products and all the extra proteins and fats that my body did not need, my hormones evened out so nicely, and the amount of pain and the flow that I experienced during my menstrual cycle decreased dramatically. So I've done several other videos on hormonal health and diet, so I will link some of those up there and down below, and you can check those out. But basically, lower fat, lower protein, and higher fiber diets are fantastic for hormone balance because they decrease the amount of sex hormones that your body produces. They decrease your exposure to exogenous hormones, that's hormones from outside of your body, from animal foods. They increase the amount of sex hormone binding globulin that your body produces, which means that less sex hormones are floating around in your body causing symptoms. They're high in fiber, which means that when your liver filters out excess hormones and sends them into your intestines, those excess hormones are more likely to be absorbed by fiber and eliminated from the body instead of reabsorbed, where they wreak more havoc. And all of this leads to lower blood loss and a lot less pain during your cycle. So a vegan diet where I'm consuming anywhere from 10 to 15% of my calories from fat revolutionized my cycle. It took it from something that was miserable and barely controllable to something that's super easy to live with and I barely even notice. 2 to 3 days, little pain, we're done. My second hack for improving my cycle is how I improved my mess prevention. Using pads and tampons never really worked out for me. I felt like I was having to change them all the time and they would like leak, and then there was like the unfortunate smell, and it was so inconvenient, and it was constantly on my mind. I was afraid to go to sleep. I was afraid to exercise. Definitely couldn't go swimming or anything like that. Really concerned about what types of pants that I could wear. It's like when you're walking and you're wearing a pad, like it makes a sound. And I would always be so self-conscious about all of that. So I was so excited when I was 19 and I heard of menstrual cups. The idea was completely revolutionary to me. I thought, of course, this makes so much sense. And as soon as I heard about it, I went to my local health food store and I bought one. And the first one I ever bought was the Diva Cup size A for ladies who haven't had babies. And I bought that Diva Cup over 10 years ago now, and I have been using it ever since. I haven't bought a pad or a tampon since then. saved me so much freaking money. So this is the Diva cup that I have been using for 10 years. It's still in great shape. I don't see any reason why it would break or malfunction anytime soon. But I know that a lot of ladies are really apprehensive about using something like this. One of the first ones is, does it hurt, like, to get it inside? I've never experienced what you would call pain, but there have been some moments of like, I can't get it in there. Like, I can't get it to fold right, and like, and I'm just trying to finagle it, and it takes a couple tries, and that's not necessarily comfortable, but it's not what I would call painful. After 10 years, I'm pretty freaking good at using it. You just take it, you fold it. I like this fold, but there are so many different folds that you can use. And there are lots of really good videos on that subject and like how to get them in, and like, what if you're a virgin, how do you get them in? Instructions exist, so I'll try to leave some links in the description box. Otherwise, you can just Google it or look it up on YouTube. Tons of resources on how to use menstrual cups already. And no, they can't get lost or like stuck inside of you. I've never had that happen. The other thing that I hear all the time is like, ew, that's gross. I don't want to touch my own menstrual blood. So the thing that I don't think most people understand is that when you're managing your period with pads and tampons, the blood comes out and it's gross and it starts to stink and it like gets everywhere, and like, that is gross. Pulling out this guy when it's full, it can be intimidating or kind of scary, because it's like, if it's full, that's a fair amount of tissue coming out of you. But when it comes out like this, like, there's no smell, there's no weirdness. And if we're all honest with ourselves, I think we're all pretty freaking fascinated. I know I'm fascinated. So as far as the gross out factor goes, I totally get it, which is why I pretty much exclusively change mine in the shower. And the great thing about the cups is that you only have to change them every 12 hours. And that's usually a great amount of time for my heaviest days where I'm losing the most blood. Like, I can go 12 to 13 hours between changing it without having any overflow problems. I will say that if you do wait too long and it does start to overflow, like, you're gonna get some gushing issues, and it's not a good look. Like, just change it on time, okay? On lighter days, I can go a little bit longer, but then you start to deal with the, bacteria buildup, and you really just, you want to get it, flush it out, just flush it out. So like I said, I pretty much exclusively change it in the shower just to manage like mess. Then it's like out, down the drain, clean it off, clean myself off, back in, and I'm good to go. Something that I hear people say all the time is like, oh, well, how do you change it in public bathrooms? What about public restrooms? But the thing is that since you only have to change it every 12 hours or so, the likelihood that you're going to have to do it in a public restroom is fairly low. Let's say I have a busy work day, I change it at 7 a.m. That means I have until 7 p.m. until I have to change it again. And generally speaking, I'm always back home and able to just jump in the shower for a couple of minutes and change it. Now, there have been some very rare occasions when I have had to change it in a public bathroom, and I will tell you my hack for that. Some of you are gonna get like weirded out, but it works. So I pretty much always have my water bottle with me, so I'll bring my water bottle into the bathroom stall with me, and then I will proceed to sit down and take it out as best I can, and then as I'm taking it out, I start peeing, and then I let the pee rinse it out. And I know that some of you are gonna have like a gross out reaction to that, but piss is pretty much sterile when it comes out of you. There are a lot grosser things to touch, like pretty much anything else in a public bathroom. So I'm just gonna have to say, like, get over it, grow up. It's just pee, especially if you're well hydrated. It's not like it's gross pee. Pretty much clear pee. There's no smell. What are we freaking out for? Anyway, I pee on it, and that cleans it like 95%. And then I, get myself situated and stand up briefly, and then I rinse it out with my water bottle, and I wash my hand off with my water bottle, and then I dry it off with either toilet paper or a paper towel that I brought in with me, and then it goes right back in. And there you go. It's clean. You didn't have to leave the bathroom stall, covered in blood and dump it out, and nothing embarrassing happened. And I mean, I've traveled across the world, like multiple international flights with this thing in, managing the whole thing. Nothing horrible happened. And it was a lot less gross than having to deal with like pads and tampons on long international flights where you're stuck sitting in your own blood for hours. So So at the end of your cycle, there's the question of how are you gonna like clean and sanitize it to put it away. And in my time working at health food stores, I can tell you that I have seen hundreds of women who come in and they ruined their menstrual cups by boiling them in water. You don't have to boil these in water to sanitize them. It just deforms them and makes them totally useless. And then you have to spend, you know, 25 to 50 bucks on a new one. So what I do is I take like a plastic bag or a jar and I put the Diva cup in there, and then I squirt hydrogen peroxide all over it, and then I let it sit in there for a couple of hours to like a day, however long I remember it. I accidentally left it in the hydrogen peroxide for over a month. And it was fine. The nice thing about the peroxide too is that it like bleaches it, so any discoloration that you see on this clear silicone will go away with the hydrogen peroxide. If you want to go further and like disinfect it further, you can put some isopropyl alcohol on it or rubbing alcohol, and that'll do it too. It's not hard to deal with. Nobody needs to freak out. And to be perfectly honest, like, your vagina was designed to host foreign objects. Think about it, like, it's okay. Now, I do actually have two different kinds. So this is the Diva cup, and this is what's called the Lily cup. And obviously I got it for narcissistic purposes. And I had been looking into this cup for like years. I coveted this. I thought it would be so much better than the Diva cup because it's smoother on the outside. It's really freaking soft. It's like nice and squishy. It has a cool little control top rim, so you're less likely to spill when you pull it out. And I was so excited about this one. So I paid, you know, like the 40 or 45 bucks to get it. And I got it and I put it in for the first time. And I was so freaking disappointed. Like, I wanted to like this thing so bad. The thing is that on the Diva cup, there are these holes along the rim. They're just like these tiny little holes that only air can get through. They don't leak anything. But along the rim, it lets the air through so that it can't produce a suction. This one produces the suction really bad. It was actually super painful. When it was in there, it felt like it was like sucking my frickin' uterus out, and putting it in and taking it out was really painful. I'm actually thinking about using a needle and making holes along the rim in this one so that hopefully it'll let that suction out without leaking. But I was so disappointed with the design of this one. It's so great in every other way, and it was so comfortable in every other way, except for that dang suction, man. So after trying this one for 2 cycles, I switched back to my Diva cup because I just couldn't stand it anymore. So I keep my little cups in these baggies, and I don't know, once I poke holes in this one, I might love it a lot more. I hope so. But, you know, with these guys in, like, they don't cause me to have cramps like tampons did. They're not disgusting like pads. I've never had a problem with leakage. This one especially, the Lily cup, like, it was frickin', the suction was so awful that I don't think it could have ever leaked. And then the Diva cup, as long as you put it in and then twist it and make sure that it's fully inflated, like if it's like this and it's inside you, you're gonna get some leaking. But if it's fully open and you do that by twisting it, and sometimes you have to twist it like 4 or 5 times to get it to open, but you just twist it and twist it and twist it, and once it's open, I've never had any issues with leaking. So I can exercise with these in. I go on like long trail runs. I lift weights. I don't do yoga with inversions for obvious reasons, but I mean, I can sleep and not have to worry about leaks. I can go swimming and not have to worry about leaks or sharks. They're just the ideal way to deal with something that I wish I didn't have to deal with in the first place, but whatever, it is what it is. So the third hack that really revolutionized how I deal with my cycle was how I dealt with the pain and the cramps. So like I said, I used to have really horrible, debilitating cramps. Like, I would feel like I was gonna throw up for days. I could barely move, I couldn't work. I was taking a bunch of painkillers. And like I said, I did find a huge pain reduction just from changing my diet and switching over to a vegan diet that was relatively low in fat. That got rid of at least 85% of my pain. Other lifestyle changes like not drinking alcohol, not smoking, and again, not eating inflammatory foods like junk foods or really fatty foods, or foods that are high in reactive oxygen species or AGEs. all of those helped a lot. And that's because the cramps are caused by these hormone-like substances that are called prostaglandins, and they make everything really inflamed and sensitive in the area. And then the uterine muscles contract to help to, flush everything out. Interestingly, those uterine contractions can actually become so hard that they cut off the blood supply to the uterus, and then you can end up having pain, like you would get chest pain if your heart wasn't getting enough blood. This happens to your uterus too, and I feel like it's actually a more appropriate use of the name angina than the one that refers to your heart. I feel like someone got confused at the medical terminology conference. So those lifestyle factors took away the vast majority of the pain and discomfort that I experienced during my cycle. And since I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome and endometriosis at one point, the pain was pretty severe. And I think that even though I have had some cycles that were completely pain-free, I don't think that I'm ever going to be completely pain-free for every single cycle just because of those other factors. So nowadays, I usually have some discomfort and cramping on the first day of my cycle, and after that I'm totally fine, but it's that first day where I feel like sensitive and kind of bloated and like tender in that area, like it's definitely inflamed and uncomfortable. And since painkillers like non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs are so terrible for gut health and overall health, I really like to avoid the drugs, so I try to go the natural route. If I'm playing a long game, doing things like acupuncture, acupressure, or herbal treatments, those have been really, really helpful in the past in helping to regulate and decrease the amount of pain and discomfort I feel. If I'm in the moment and I'm just like, oh God, make this stop, I have a super secret painkiller recipe that I will share with you right now. It's all whole plant foods. So what you will need for this all-natural painkiller is turmeric. You can either use whole fresh turmeric or powdered turmeric. Either one works just fine. You'll need an avocado or other source of fat. You'll also need some ground up cumin, and it's best if you can freshly grind the whole cumin seed, as cumin is very high in salicylic acid, which is the active ingredient in aspirin. And salicylic acid has been used as a painkiller for centuries. You'll also need a little bit of black pepper, as black pepper decreases the liver's ability to detoxify certain compounds like curcumin in the turmeric. So I just take all of those ingredients and smush them together. Sometimes I'll add a little pinch of salt or tamari just to help with palatability. And then I will gulp that down in 1 or 2 bites, and usually within 20 minutes those ingredients do their anti-inflammatory jobs and I stop feeling all pain. I also feel like my bloating and all the tenderness really goes down because those ingredients help to block those inflammatory prostaglandins. Of course, sitting on the couch with a warm hot water bottle, or sometimes I will force my chihuahua to lay on top of my uterus, that helps too, as does some light exercise like going for a walk. And to be perfectly honest, just since we're being open, a nice orgasm goes a long way towards helping your uterus to relax. If I'm still feeling like I need a little bit of TLC, I will make a tea out of ginger roots and passion fruit leaves. You can buy those online. The ginger root is very anti-inflammatory, and the passion fruit leaves really help to calm down and help your muscles relax and put you in a nice, relaxed mood altogether. Okay? So those are my hacks that I used to make my cycle enjoyable and barely noticeable and totally livable. No muss, no fuss, no leaks, no pain, no worries. You can leave questions and comments for me down below. As always, like, subscribe, share this video with anyone who you think might benefit. And until next time, make better choices for yourself. No one's going to do it for you. And take really, really good care. I will see you all very soon. Bye!